Greetings, Stars fans. This is the Dallas Stars 2015-2016 season discussion. It is game 17 and 18. We were traveling, so the videos will be a little behind, but we'll briefly talk about the Winnipeg game and then get more into the Minnesota game. As usual, we start off each video with our predictions from the last video. We have one for Winnipeg. When you said if Dallas were to come on top, the score would be 4-3. You said it'd be more of a strong physical type game, which it was. You said if Winnipeg were to come on top, it would be 3-1. I said if Dallas were to come on top, it would have been 2-1. Again, on that whole physicality factor for that game. I said if Winnipeg were to come on top, they were to have the score of 2-0. But just briefly on the Winnipeg game, we get through a lot of that game and we see that the physicality was there, but we also started to see a little bit of some soft play from Dallas, especially whenever you saw Kari give up those, two kind of soft goals of his. I mean, I didn't like most of those goals that he'd given up. How did you like the Winnipeg game overall, Quinn?
You really get to see how much physicality that Dallas lacks throughout their lineup, but they try to stay with them. They try to stick to their skill game, and it eventually pays off.
Yeah, it really does. We really started to see Dallas with their speed and their skill really come to outshine. Even though in the stats wise, Dallas did out hit Winnipeg, but it was only by one hit. So it was still that hard nosed fought game. It was good to see Dallas actually fight and keep up with Winnipeg, because last season Dallas was only 1-3 against Winnipeg. A lot of those games turned into the physical type play because Winnipeg is a huge team. So it was good to see that the Stars got off, and they actually killed Winnipeg in the faceoffs. It was 38-22. Now, a lot of people might think, well, what's the big deal about face-offs? Face-offs are a pretty big deal because that goes into your possession time. If you have the puck more than likely you're going to win the game. So, and the Stars had really been struggling in the face-off dot for the past couple of games, so it was good to see them actually come out with a good, strong performance in there. It really looks like they're trying to improve that, which it showed. What would you give the rating for the Winnipeg game?
I'd probably say the rating that they play, probably good B+.
Yeah, I gave it a good B+ too. The soft goals didn't help Kari in that situation, but it was good to see that they persevered, and they not only took care of Winnipeg, but they took care of them in regulation, which was a good thing. Now, we're going to jump right into the Minnesota game. There are no predictions from us since we were traveling, but let's start off with the Stars getting the early first penalty in the game. I mean, within three minutes of the game, the Stars are back on the penalty kill. Now, penalties like that early in the game can really suck momentum out of a game. It was good that and it was surprising to see that Dallas actually gets the kill. Like, overall, Dallas played a good penalty kill. It's something that they had been lacking over the last couple of games. Their PK was just absolutely terrible. It seemed like every other penalty they were getting scored on. So, and they took 4 penalties and killed off all 4 penalties. So it looks like the penalty kill is really starting to come around. Do you have any idea as to how or why the penalty kill is really starting to come around?
They've got lines that are connecting. You see it especially well with Fiddler and Seaview. Like that seems to be like our top penalty killing game, and they really play it. So they play that hard nosed, fast pace, and they can get there to make the plays.
Now, one weapon that the Dallas Stars have been using all season has been their power play. Minnesota comes in with the least amount of penalties in the league. I think it was at 35 for the whole season, if I'm correct. Now, Dallas is second overall in the power play, and it was very uncharacteristic for Minnesota to be taking the penalties that they were. They took 4 penalties, and on the first 2 penalties, Dallas makes them pay. It was, even though Spezza's goal was not on the power play, it might as well have been, because it came like a second or two. So it's not a power play goal. It's more of a pseudo power play goal, but Dallas makes them pay either way. And it all goes to the fact with what is now the quarterback to the Dallas Stars' power play, and that would be John Klingberg, old Twinkle Toes. Now, what did you see out of the defense for the first beginning of the game?
They played a pretty physical, strong game. Everybody seemed to be getting in the shot lanes, blocking the shots early on, which is good to set that momentum. And
now,
of course, they come up big when start getting some points from Klingberg.
Yeah, exactly. And these are the games that you want that production from. You need your depth. You need your top scorers as well in these 2 games. These 2 games, if you don't know the significance of them, are 2 Central Division games. The division that Dallas now lives in. Dallas had only 8 wins in the division last season. But with the win over Winnipeg and Minnesota, that gives them 2 wins. We already have 2 wins in this division when we only had 8. It's great to see that Dallas is really starting to not let these games slip away. Even though this was another suffocation type game. It was like the Toronto game, but the Stars really stuck to their plans. Let's talk about the coach's challenge and what we saw from the Minnesota goal from Niederreiter. What did you see, and how did you feel about that?
I felt like it should have been goalie interference, but like you said when we were watching the game, it could have been 50-50, but I really feel like he hit the glove of Lettinen before the puck had gone through, but the results showed that it wasn't, and you just move on from that.
Oh yeah. Did you think that there was any kind of momentum lost whenever Dallas got the bad news for that, or did you think that Dallas kind of just stuck with the plan and went about their business?
Anytime you get a call like that and it gets reversed, you always feel that little shift in momentum go the other way, because now you're like, oh man, we tried, they overturned it, so now we just got to get back to our game. But it'll always throw you off a little bit. Yeah.
I thought, like you said, we had been watching the game, and you had said that at gut reaction, it says, that's absolutely goalie interference. That's just from all the fast motion and how the game was going. But in the replay and what we see, what the refs were seeing, to me, it looked like there was contact after the puck was already going by Lettinen. And we saw in the intermission from Craig Ludwig saying that, what is Niederreiter really to do when Kari Lettinen comes out? Pretty much, he has his tiptoes left in the crease. So I think that really plays into it with how aggressive Kari was playing the puck or the shot. So I think that all, plays out into the decision. Like I said, I thought it was either going to be a 50-50 thing. I would not have been surprised if it got overturned, and I was not surprised when the goal stood. So, it is what it is, and that's all part of the human element of the game. And I still continue to say that the Coach's Challenge is one of the better things that the NHL is doing right. But and we heard from Razor during the Coach's Challenge that, or was it? I think it was either Raider. It was either Strader or Razor that said, we still don't have a clear definition of what goalie interference is. The goalies can't be touched at all. The goalies can be lightly tapped or anything like that, because we saw like that in the Winnipeg game. Was it Brian Little that pushes Kari Lehtinen when he was out of the net? So I mean, all that stuff is a little hazy. Hopefully, within the next season or two, we get like a better definition of what goalie interference is, so we know what to challenge and what not to challenge. But again, that relies on the refs. From what I was seeing in the game, especially towards the later part of the game, we saw a lot of Dallas relying on Kari to make those saves that he was getting. It seemed like Dallas was kind of getting out of their defensive-minded game, especially within, I think it was the second period, when I think the most dangerous Winnipeg or Minnesota player was Coyle. At first you would think that he was playing defense, he was playing offense. I mean, he was just all over the place. I mean, he had so many looks. The score of this game could have easily have been 5-4. And towards the later part of the game, what were you seeing out of their defense and pretty much the goaltending?
They're jumping in there. They're getting the looks, and they're playing kind of a similar game to what Dallas plays. They want to get their offense from their defense sometimes, and it works for them.
Yeah, Minnesota definitely plays a more defensive sounding game, because I mean, we saw it today or yesterday that they dressed 7 defensemen, and it just goes to show you that Dallas's system as of right now is still working. Granted, they're still not playing a full 60 minutes of the game, but I think their system works, and their positioning is starting to get so much better. What did you see out of Dubnyk? Now, this is a guy that, before he went to Minnesota last season, I think a lot of people were like, okay, this guy's career is almost essentially done. I mean, he wasn't really doing anything, but then he had that super resurgence with Minnesota last season, and this season he's doing fantastic. He's really coming into his own as their number one. I mean, we had our looks and we had our chances on him too. What did you see out of their goalie?
You definitely see, like you said, his emergence as starting to be a really good goaltender after he's been in Edmonton, just with all their troubles that they've had. And then he comes into Minnesota, he starts playing like that number one player that they need.
Yeah, and it goes to show you that not only can a good goalie actually win, but it goes to show you that a good, sound defense can actually help you win as well. Like, if you have a great goaltender, he's only as good as his defense. But when you put him in like a top 10 defense, that helps you so much more, because that you don't rely too much on your goaltending, and you take away a lot of those chances because your defense is playing so well. So it was good to see a good old-fashioned goalie duel, what this really turned in, because Dubnyk was making saves, Kari was making saves, and we were talking to someone else that, kind of has a goalie state of mind, that he was saying that Dubnyk is really sound when it comes to his net and his positioning. You don't see him flopping around a lot. You'll see that at Akari a little bit. Like, you'll see him kind of get in trouble, and then he'll have to make some kind of desperation, but there's really no desperation out of what we've seen from Dubnyk. He's been good. And what I liked, I was watching some post-game interviews from Lindy Ruff, and he said without that Klingberg OT goal, instead of people writing about Klingberg today, we're writing about Dubnyk and how he kind of stole that game. So
yeah, it always seems like whenever teams come play against us, their goalie has like the best game of their life.
Exactly. And bringing up Klingberg, I want to talk about the player of the game. This guy is only getting better. A lot of people are starting to dub him as the next Zubov. I've been kind of hesitant to really, put him in that corner because of how good Sergei Zubov was. So I've been kind of telling people to pump the brakes just a little bit. But as of right now, he is a top 5 defenseman. Granted, me and you would both like to see him get bigger and stronger, but it looks like he might have that small frame for his career, and he's going to be more of finesse than anything, because when he doesn't really get lit up when he gets hit. Like, he loses some physical battles because he's just not strong enough to really fight that off, but he's never really getting caught off guard. He's got a good hockey sense. What have you seen out of Klingberg this season, and how has his rise really continued instead of faltering?
He's starting to play with a good hockey sense. He's getting into the zone. He's handling the puck well. He's got those little twinkle toes that you bring up. He knows how to make the defenseman think one thing and then he does another, which is really vital for those top players in the NHL nowadays.
Exactly, and it shows right there on the power play just how elusive he is with the puck. I mean, those goals do not go in without him being the prime contributor to those first 2 goals and then on the overtime goal. This is the second time that we've seen the overtime, the 3-on-3 overtime. What are your thoughts on the overtime period? Because for a while we saw 4-on-4. I mean, we got used to 5-on-5 because that's just how it was, and then you'd go to a tie. But now the league wants more offense. So instead of having 4-on-4, we go 3-on-3. How are you liking the 3-on-3 so far?
I like it, especially when our team is Dallas, because they got an offensive powerhouse when it comes to 3-on-3. You put Sagan, Ben, and Klingberg out there, and you basically have 3 forwards and 3 defensemen out there at the same time.
Exactly. Now, with Dallas's pure offense of what they're doing in overtime, do you see any kind of weaknesses as of right now with how Dallas plays their overtime?
You don't really see it with the top line with Sagan and Ben and all of them, because they all 3 of them, they play a 2-way game. Ben knows when to drop back. Sagan knows when to drop back. They all know when to play defense, but they also know when to take their precedence and go play offense.
Exactly. And you see with Minnesota went more of a heavy defensive mind when it came to their overtime. And we saw that with Vancouver as well. Now, I was really intrigued as to how this overtime would go because of how defensive-minded the Minnesota Wild is. And we see that one bad shot or one, tie up, like with Ben tying up his player, it springs a fast break 2-on-1. As of right now, I don't really see a weakness to Dallas's overtime unless we go up against another high-octane offense. But with our speed, I think can be matched with anything. So as of right now, I think 3-on-3 overtime is really built for the Dallas Stars. And which is surprising because Dallas was terrible at extra minutes last season. So it's good to see that this is actually working for Dallas. And I also want to talk about Kari Lehtinen. Kari is now 8-1 on the season. A lot of people were questioning what is a system going to be like with two number one goalies, rather a goalie 1A and 1B. As of right now, it is working. This is the best we've seen Kari really since maybe 2-3 seasons ago. We damn well didn't see it last season. But we know Kari is actually a really good goalie. So the extra push that he's getting from Niemi is actually working. And we saw from the Toronto game, Niemi has been the more unlucky goalie with his 3 losses and Kari only having one really bad game against Florida. So it's actually really good to see that they are actually pushing each other. And I think it goes to show that the new goalie coach is actually helping out a lot too. So let's go into the ratings. What would you have rated this game?
I would rate it, I'd say probably like a nice solid B, because there's still those little mistakes on defense that are causing Minnesota to get great chances. You see that they just crash the net and the puck just comes to them. We need to just start clearing out that garbage and stick with playing not overwhelmingly physically, because that's not our style, but play physical enough to just stay with the team.
Yeah. I gave a rating of A- because of how strong the Stars really looked. Their power play was clicking. I mean, I didn't like the penalties that they were taking. I think Dallas cannot afford to take a lot of penalties, but we're just lucky that Minnesota is kind of on a lull on their power play. So I gave an A- because the Stars are just finding ways to win, and that's something that was not going on last season. And as of right now, as this recording, the Dallas Stars are number 1 in the league. They are the first place team. That goes into my rating, because we have not seen the Dallas Stars in first place overall in a long time. So the Dallas Stars play the Buffalo Sabres next Tuesday. What are your predictions for that game?
Coming in just knowing that the struggles of Buffalo that they've had in the past couple of seasons, I think Dallas is going to try and hop on that early, use their speed and their skill to outplay them. But then again, Buffalo is going to come in playing that physical game that the Eastern Conference, relishes on. So I think it'll be a hard-fought game, but I think Dallas will come on top. I'm going to say 3-2. And if Buffalo comes on top, I'm going to say 3-1.
All right. I'm not sure what I think of the Buffalo Sabres, because it's a completely revamped team. They have the rookie sensation Jack Eichel, but I don't think they are ready to contend for anything just yet. So I'm going to say Dallas wins, and I'm going to say they win by a score of 4-1. But if Buffalo is able to squeak one out, I'm going to say they're probably going to have a bad defensive game and kind of let their guard down. I'm going to say it's going to be a score of 3-2 for Buffalo if they are able to come out on top. So, that is the discussion. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share wherever you would like. Any feedback helps. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. Remember, this is a video discussion for fans, by fans. And, as always, be sure to tune in next time.